In this lesson, we'll set up association curves for our knees to help us to quickly find our knee controls if they were ever lost as we animate. A lot of times you can be working on a complex animation where your knee controls are actually lost in your scene. Maybe they go through your ground floor, and again, if you have a lot to work with, it can be kind of confusing or cumbersome rather to know exactly where those controls are. So what we're going to do is connect a curve to both of our controls that will be tied between the knee controls and our knee bones, so that as we move our controls around, we always know where our controls will lie within our scene by looking at the direction of that curve. So let's go ahead and set this up. All right, we'll head over to our create panel, create a line shape, and we could snap that to the grid. So press the S key, we can right click on our grid snap or our snap tool and just make sure that only grid points is checked on. Okay, so from there I'm just going to go ahead and draw out a shape, right click, and we can make sure that it will not be renderable. Okay, from there you can just right click, come out of that, and rename this curve. So I'll press S to come out of snap, and we can label this SHP underscore L underscore knee help 01. Okay, later on we're going to want to make sure that this curve is not selectable when we add it to our layer, the layer that we'll make for it. Alright, what we're going to do next is actually create helpers that are tied to both ends of these that we will connect to our knee bone and knee control. Okay, we'll do so in a way where they'll always follow both of those objects the way they need to, so this can function right. So I'm going to go ahead and make a helper, make it a point, and create. Okay, we can leave it across. I'll rename this one PTHLP for help underscore L underscore what it's associated with. So in this case, this is going to be the knee control 01. All right, I'll move this over. We'll go ahead and clone another from this. And this is going to be not for our knee control, but our knee joint 01. Okay, so now that we have them in place, we can snap them to our curve. So we can go ahead and get to our snap tool, just right click, turn off grid points, turn on pivots, and also vertex. So we can snap to the vertex of our curve. Now we can press the S key to go back to our snap tool, grab that center, and snap to our end vertices. Okay, can come out of our snap tool now. Can select all of these objects and clone them. So this will be for our right side. Let's go ahead and rename these. Okay, so instead of the L, that'll be R. It's knee joint 01. Go to our curve shape, rename that. We just have a few more steps. It's going to be R01. Okay, so how are we going to control the shape by these helpers? Well, we could actually use the skin modifier for that. So here we're using that modifier creatively to create this enhancement to our knee controls. So let's start with the left side. With the line curve selected, we'll head over to our modify panel and find our skin modifier. So at the drop down, we'll press the S key so we can quickly find, there it is, skin. Now all we need to do is go ahead and add both of these envelope objects to that line shape. So choose add, move this over, and here's where we can use a wildcard to quickly access these objects. So watch this. If we were to type in at find, at this text box, type in PTHLP underscore, notice we will quickly be brought to those helpers that we made specifically for this knee enhancement rig. Alright, so here we just want to select the left ones. So let's go ahead and deselect the others, just control clicking them. and choose select. Alright, and that's that. So now when we select our helpers and move this, notice we're able to drive the shape of this curve. Great, let's go ahead and tie this in now. All we need to do is do a point constraint or a position constraint. So selecting our helper, that goes to the knee control, we'll simply Alt right click, choose position, and tie that to our knee control. We'll select the next helper, position, tie that to our knee bone. And there we have it. Watch this. Selecting that control, we can move that around. And now again, we always know where that knee control is. So let's say if this were to go through our ground. Oh, where is it? We can follow that line right to the control. I find this setup to be very helpful. Okay, great. So now that that's done, what we can do is set up our right side and then make sure that they're going to be stored within a layer so that they won't be selectable. Okay, so again, selecting our shape, going to the modify panel, we'll find our skin modifier, pressing the S key, choose add, go ahead and use our wildcard, so just PTHLP underscore, we want to control click the left helpers so we can add the right ones. Setup's done. And then from there, you can go ahead and select those helpers and position constraint. Okay, great. All right, well, now that that's done, of course, we test this out. It's moving just fine. And then from here, what we'd want to do is now hide our helpers. Okay, we don't need to see them at all. And we want to make sure that these association curves are non-selectable. So let's head over to the layer manager. All right, so from here, we'll select both of these curves. We'll create a new layer, and we'll just simply label this association curves in case we were to ever create others for any other controls. All right. I don't want this to be the active layer. The default layer should be the active layer, so I'll go ahead and set that, but I will freeze this. Okay, so now we can't select those curves. Let's say we from here go ahead and select our knee controls and add them to a control objects layer. We can go ahead and create that now. Okay, so that's going to be control objects. Again, we don't want that to be the active. Now that that's done, we can hide that. Go to these helpers and go ahead and add those to objects to hide. So now as we hide them, there we have it. Now that we have our control objects layer, let's say we go ahead and take these control objects and add them to it, the feet controls. We'll choose the control objects layer, choose add, and there we have it. Great. So that actually finishes up the setup of our knees. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn off freeze. We don't want to freeze our controls. Well, with this now done, okay, we can go ahead and move on to another topic, which is going to be to start to work on our spine. And this is actually going to be a really fun setup. I'm really excited to discuss this with you. So without further ado, let's say we move on to the next lesson and start to work on this spine rig.